Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Lucore Automotive, and as you can see, I am behind my 940 Turbo Volvo Wagon, and as you hopefully can hear, it's not happy with me. So I think it's finally time to do some maintenance on this car. As you can hopefully hear and possibly see from my muffler shaking, we've got a little bit of an issue with it doesn't run real well right now. It's on like 2.5 cylinders, so we're gonna have to figure out what exactly is going on here. Now, full honesty here, I have done almost no maintenance on this car since owning it, other than changing the oil. The timing is probably about due. The air filter is due, the fuel filters are due, the spark plugs are due, all of the belts are due, brake fluid's due, brakes are basically due, transmission fluid's due, everything's due. So we're gonna go through on this 1994 Volvo and see exactly how much money I'm gonna need to spend to get this thing running right and not wanting to kill me. Something's not happening. I'd say we have a bit of a misfire, Captain. We've also got some squeaky belts, which you may or may not be able to hear. Since the car is currently warmed up, you can't hear the squeaky belts, but the engine belts are definitely not optimal, so they're going to need to be replaced as well. So I think we're going to definitely need some maintenance here. So as you can see, things are a little bit rocky under the hood. Most likely a misfire. Could be a spark plug, could be a wire, could be a bunch of different things. Gonna need to start diagnosing exactly what this is. Now, this also could be a vacuum issue. These motors still do have quite a few things that are controlled by vacuum, and if I end up with a massive vacuum leak, I can have a similar problem. So let's figure out what that is and move forward. Now, another thing I'm gonna need to address while I'm underneath the hood of this thing, finally doing a little bit of maintenance. The maintenance was last done, belts and such, timing and such. According to this here mark on my timing cover, was at 125,700 miles. I am just shy of 200,000 miles on this car, so timing is most certainly due. We're going to put that on our list. Now, when we're doing the timing belt, we're also probably going to go ahead and do a water pump, because there is some water pump seepage that I can see directly from here. So we're going to address that while we're there. The other thing that's also nice is IPD sells a timing belt kit that also does come with a new camshaft. And when I have all of this top end apart to be able to do my maintenance, I may as well go ahead and replace the camshaft. It is 200,000 miles old, as well as an adjustable cam gear. All comes in a nice package from IPD, so that's probably where we're going to end up going. Our engine belts, our accessory belts, are a little flippy floppy, and we've definitely noticed over the last couple of days, when it's cold and wet and rainy outside, they get squeaky, and squeaky isn't good. Air filter is slightly less than optimal, so we're going to need one of those. A little bit of bugs in there, nothing serious. Now, one thing I did notice previously when I was inspecting this vehicle is the clips that hold the airbox in are broken. The airbox is going to need to be a little bit doctored in order to be able to get this to seal off correctly. Many people in the world of tuning and turbocharged vehicles would say, well, just put a cold air intake on it. I could do that, and that's a possibility that I may get into. So I can hear a little bit more of that intake sound, turbo sound. It's not necessary. The flow rate of a stock turbo airbox is pretty solid, but it's maybe something I can deal with. Okay, so if I remove the sensor off of this, it didn't shut off. It did speed up the engine just a little bit, but it did not shut it off. Should be able to plug this back in, and the engine shut off. Like so. So, we know that sensor is working. Now, in order to get to the spark plugs, I'm going to need to remove the air intake pipe off of the turbo, which is not a big deal. It's just a couple of little worm clamps, and that guy will come and get out of the way. And then all of our plugs sit in the head, and I can pull those directly out. No big deal.
She's a little wet, Captain.
Plug-wise, front one doesn't look too bad as far as the burn goes, but do have some Earl on it, which is not what I want to see. But we did notice we have a little bit of an oil usage issue with this motor, so it's possible. You also we're getting into engine rebuild time. Plug number two. Plug number two looks fine. No problem there. Number three. Looks pretty healthy as well. There's no blow-by. There's no Earl. Okay. And our fourth plug. No oil blow-by, no exhaust on this. Seems like it's fine. So, it's not a spark plug issue. Let's diagnose a wiring issue. See if that moves it around. Well, on the advice of the peanut gallery, since I already have the spark plugs out, we're going to do a compression test. We're just going to see if it's maybe low on compression. Because if it's low on compression, then it's probably going to need to be an engine rebuild.
If it's low on compression, pull the cylinder head and figure out what's bad.
Uh-huh.
Cylinder head looks good, pull the pistons.
Right.
You got the pistons down, you might as well.
Remember how I said I was super proud of myself that I haven't modified this car yet? Well, this is exactly how it happens. Uh-huh. Yeah. See, this is how it happens. This is how it happens. Please be fine. Please be fine. Please be fine. $145. That's not bad. So far, so good. $145. $145.
Was it good?
Awesome.
Front 2R. Cylinder 3 is actually even higher.
Are you pushing the gas pedal to the floor when you're doing it?
Uh-huh. Cylinder 3 is just over 150. So, only one we got left to worry about, cylinder 4 in the back, which is a pain to get to. Whoa. Almost 175.
That's the good one.
All right. Quit digging with that BMW for a minute. Recheck me here.
You got one good one.
So, we're at 145 again on cylinder 2. But, what I want to verify here is something a little bit more scary. See how dirty that is? I cleaned this off right before I put this in. So cylinder 2 is putting oil all over my threads, which means we probably have an oil ring gone bad. Compression right on 145 one more time. So 145 to 150 across the board, except for cylinder 4, which is 170. Which is actually too high. Now, let's see if this comes out wet. So we have cylinders 1 and 2 that come out wet. If this becomes an engine rebuild, I need to make sure that I behave myself. I'm not good at that.
Still run steady.
Run steady. We tried the run it with no air filter trick to make it run better, and that didn't fix it. There's our belt squeak. Sounds great. What the hell? Gonna go ahead and just put this back in. For now. Now that we know that our compression is fine, we checked all 4 cylinders and they seem to be in the proper range. Our Our spark plugs seem to be perfectly fine. There's no indications of lean or rich running on the actual plugs themselves. We do have some examples of oil that are on the threads in cylinders 1 and 2. That's going to be something we're going to have to deal with a little bit later down the line, but it's not directly affecting our running issues. So at this point in time, you essentially work your way backwards. Just the same way you would with old school muscle car stuff. You don't have a computer that tells you exactly what's going on. So if you have a spark breakup problem, you start at the plugs and you work your way backwards. So the next thing we're going to have to deal with, plug wires. So these are not OEM Volvo spark plug wires. I basically can't get those anymore. So these are a Parts Master product, which is just a generic, pretty decent product. So this is a pretty simple process, replacing spark plug wires on these cars. The distributor is in the back, right behind the valve cover, and then you just have one lead that runs directly to each cylinder. Do them one at a time, take one off, put one on, take one off, put one on. They are individually lengthened for each cylinder where they're supposed to go. So there's not really any guesswork. Just work your way one at a time. Now once we've got these things on, we will start the car back up and see if our miss is gone. If not, work our way back to the distributor cap. Hopefully it's just a wiring issue. Okay, so shortest one is here. Second shortest, cylinder 3, and we're good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all nice and tight. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's crank this thing up, see if she behaves a little bit better. As you can see, no more shaky motor. So we have fixed our issue with just some spark plug wires, which I've got like 30 bucks involved in it. One thing I want to make a note of, the spark plug wire replacement did get rid of my Misfire, but that same set also did come with coil wire. Now the neat thing is it actually came with 2 coil wires. And they are of different lengths. So depending on your application, where your coil is mounted, and what kind of vehicle it's in, because this 230 motor is in a lot of different cars, you may need either the shorter one or the longer one. In my case, I need the longer one because of where mine is mounted. Now that gives me an interesting way to be able to have another conversation here. These cars have 2 different ignition systems. One can be Bosch, the other is known as Regina, and it does matter on which one you have. If you have a Regina system, you have to get wires for a Regina system. If you have a Bosch system, you have to get wires for a Bosch system. So make sure you have what you have before you order what you're looking for, otherwise you're going to get the wrong stuff. Now the easiest way to make sure which system you have is the coil. So right here, that's my ignition coil. If it looks like an old school coil, for those of you who are old schoolers, then you have a Bosch system. If it doesn't look like an old school coil, then you have a Regina system. So this coil wire goes from this coil here back down that way to the distributor where it distributes the spark. So anyway, that's your tech tip on the Volvo. If you happen to have an old school looking coil, you have a Bosch system, make sure you get Bosch wires. If you do not have an old school looking coil, you have a Regina system, make sure you get Regina wires. Now I did go ahead and set another set of plugs in this thing. Spark plugs for these things are pretty inexpensive. It's a pretty simple process. There's nothing real crazy to it. Just buy a set of plugs. They come pre-gapped. Now, it is a good idea to check that gap, but they do come, generally speaking, pretty close to exactly where they need to be. Put those new plugs in, we still had our problem. Trace that problem up the line. The next thing, spark plug wires. Get a set of spark plugs in. Took me a day or so to get them in here. It's not something that's typically stocked at a lot of your parts suppliers, but once the plug wires came in, as you saw, really simple surgery, no big deal, and that fixed our misfire issue. Now, with all of that said, this did fix my misfire issue, but we still have a belt issue and we still have a timing issue. Those are issues we're going to have to address very, very quickly, and I'm going to go ahead and get parts ordered for that, and that will be the next episode coming up. So at this point in time, she's running again, and we have a general idea of things that we need to order for our next Volvo service, which will be coming here very shortly. That is going to be accessory belts, timing belts, headlight lenses, probably a coolant flush, new water pump, likely probably a cam and cam gear, just because I'm already in there and I'm going to get that done, as well as the new valve cover gasket, so we make sure everything is good to go. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed a little bit of a trip down the Volvo world and fixing a 1994 Volvo 940 wagon, Turbo. If you guys enjoy this, please make sure you subscribe to our channel. As always, we appreciate comments, and please do click that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithms know that you like what we do, and you actually pay attention to what we're doing. So, hopefully this was a helpful little video for you and showed you how to fix a little bit of a Volvo problem. If not, hopefully it was at least entertaining. We'll see you next time.